Welcome to Overcomers Generation Ministry. My name is Rahab Gatura. Overcomers Generation Ministry addresses different issues faced by most of us in this life, from parenting, even as single parents, as widows, as widowers, and even challenges faced by our youth and single people. And we do this through conferences, seminars, workshops, one-on-one discussion, group discussions, and counseling. Today, I'll be addressing one of the challenges faced by us in this life. I'm going to talk about loneliness in widowhood. Loneliness is widowhood is talking about people when they are widowed. I'm talking of women, of course, who are when they are widowed. And it's a very, very challenging situation. We know death is very, very frightening. Death is not a good thing, because when we are born, nobody talks about death. We are born, we are told to grow up, to go to school, get married, and get children if it's God's will. But what happens is sometimes we face death, and nobody actually knows when death will come. It's only God. So when we are faced with death, you find yourself, if you have faced death, you know it's a very, very tormenting situation. And I think losing a spouse in life is one of the most challenging things you could have come through in your life. And a situation which actually shatters your dreams, a situation which makes you see darkness, and is only God who can be able to encourage you or comfort you. Loneliness in widowhood is real, because once you have a spouse, you are used to discussing different issues. Maybe you're working or whatever you're doing, you come back home together, or you're driving in a car, you discuss, and even after everybody has gone to sleep, you know you have a partner, you go to bed and maybe pray together, and life goes on. But when one of you will lose your spouse, your life is shattered, because all of a sudden you find you're alone. And when one is bereaved, when the person dies, people will come to your home, people will attend the funeral, and after that you find you're alone. And because you have to accept that people cannot stay with you throughout, that's the reality. One of the greatest things, the way to overcome this challenge is to accept something has happened in your life. If you're a man or a woman, you accept that you have lost a very important person in your life, and you accept. Because if you don't accept, things are going to be tougher. So the first thing I would say is accepting that you are actually widowed, and to start moving on. And I want to say that on your own is very difficult. That gap left by your spouse, nobody else can fill it, it's only God. That's why the word says that God is the husband of the widows. And I think he's also a partner, he knows the widowers. So it's a very, very challenging situation. So when everything is done and you're left, after you grieve, you go through grieving, and people do it in a different way. Some take long, some take a short time. Some actually don't know even, they are just there. There are even cases where you have had people have gone into depression. But I pray that the best thing is accept and move on. If you have been widowed, just know that you have a partner who will never leave you nor forsake you, and that is God. That God is with you. Even when you are in that empty room, empty bedroom in the night, in the middle of the night, know that you are not alone. And that is the best thing, to have faith in God. Because if you don't have faith in God, that emptiness can be overwhelming. I want to say that loneliness is real. Because after you have gone through grieving, after some time, is when you start feeling the loneliness. And even you could have children, but they have to go to school, or maybe they are big, they have gone, or you could even be an empty nest, depending on the age you are widowed. And you find life becomes a bit challenging. I want to tell you the best thing is to find a way of moving forward. Because if you don't, you can easily fall into depression. Identify something which makes you feel good. If you don't belong, if you are busy working, continue working. If you are not working, find something to be doing. And because widowhood comes in different stages of our lives. So you could be a young person, you could be middle-aged, you could be an old person. But loneliness in all those situations is actually the same. Because if you are actually having children, they will not come and fill the gap of your husband. If you are middle-aged, it's still not, the children cannot come and fill the gap of your wife. If you are even old, nobody can come and fill that part apart from God. So I'm saying loneliness is real, and the way to address this is to surrender to God and to know that He created you in His own image, as the word says in Jeremiah 29:11, that He's created you in His own image. And He knew, because He's the one who gave you that spouse, that one day He is going to separate you. I want to say that when we attend weddings, where the couples, they are swearing in, they say, until death do us part. That's a statement which actually most of us might not even notice. But the moment you're actually widowed, that becomes a very, very important statement. When you attend weddings, you can hear, you might not hear anything else, but that part you hear, until death do us part. Because you know that it has happened to you. But another person who has not bereaved, it just passes by. I want to say sometimes that statement makes a lot of people even say, I've heard some of my friends saying they don't want to attend weddings because of such statements. But there's nothing which can be done, because people have to be told the truth. So if you find yourself here widowed, don't decide to be alone. Find your friends, continue, because sometimes people who are widowed, they say people have forsaken them. Yes, it can happen, but I want to tell you, come out of that wherever you are and tell God, I need to move on. I need to face life. If you belong to a church, be more committed. You know, it's humanly speaking, you might feel, oh no, people are looking at you in a different way, but I want to tell you, our God is faithful. Just surrender to Him, die to self, go to church, join the women's group or the men's fellowship, and be part of that. If you belong to a club, you could be going to a club, some club. Yeah, just get there, you know, do some hobby, join some hobby. Maybe you could like swimming, maybe you could play some game or whatever it is. Maybe you can go to the gym if you can. And if you don't even, you can also be, maybe where you are, you don't even have such things. You can take a walk in the evenings or whichever time you have, and just keep yourself busy. That's one way of just accepting that you're alone. I also want to say that because of loneliness, many widows and widowers have found they even fall sick. I want to tell you, you don't have to be sick. Just tell God to come into your life and show you the way forward. You can actually say, maybe you have a lot of time. You can volunteer, maybe to do some activity in your community, maybe even in a children's home, maybe in a hospital, to be visiting actually the sick people. Maybe you belong to a church, you can have a visitation ministry. And I want to tell you, God's ways are not our ways. When you get committed in helping others who are needy, you find that you get your healing faster. You start healing. So don't just sit back and say, because I was widowed, I don't feel like doing it. Don't listen to your body. Don't obey your emotions. Come out. You know, surrender to God and say, I will need to move on. You can also be doing something. Maybe you have desire to train in something. Maybe there's a profession you have been wanting to be, but you never managed, depending on your age. And age is just a number. You can go back to school. You can take some training. There are so many things which are happening, and especially in this era of internet, you can go online and actually study and learn a lot of skills so that you are busy. What am I saying? You have to come out of that shell of loneliness and tell God, hold me with your right hand. I don't want to be alone, and I want to be doing something. I've said there are different things depending on your society, on where you live and what you're doing. Because you could be working, and maybe by the time you come back home, you're very tired, which is good. But the nights can be very lonely, and you don't know what to do. So I want to tell you, find something to do. Maybe you can read a book after you have done everything. Maybe you can watch a movie. But I want to say that there's one thing, because you're lonely, don't go watching things which can make you even more lonelier. For example, if you have lost a spouse, and I want to talk about if you're a woman and your husband has died, stop watching romantic movies or even some of these soap operas which are talking about love, because you feel, you know, the subject will actually hurt you more. So look for something else, maybe a documentary, maybe even a comedy, or maybe some of these teachings, godly teaching, we have them on our TVs, so that you don't getting into something which is going to make you feel more lonely, that you're alone. So you do something, you choose what you're going to do, because you're a different person. Your spouse is no more, so you are in a different situation. So even what you're doing, be very, very intentional in whatever you're doing. So if it is friends, you might find some friends, maybe you belong to a couple of friends, maybe as couples you are visiting each other, and now you're alone. So you might not feel comfortable in joining these couples. And it's okay, because that is real. Because when you go there, you find they are talking, somebody say, my husband, you think they are talking because you don't have a husband. No, because they have husbands and they have to talk about it. They have wives and they have to address them. So because you are vulnerable, sometimes you find people who are widowed, they focus on such statements and they say, oh, she's saying that because I don't have a husband. You see, he's talking about his wife because I don't have a wife. No, the life has to go on, because others have been bereaved and they have moved on, and these people have to move on. So maybe what you can do is to also decide to join groups, a support group of similar people. Maybe you could have in your community or in your church a ministry of widows. Please join, because those people, you have common issues to address. They will not be talking about my husband, my wife, so you will not be feeling hurt because somebody have said. These people will be talking about my late husband, my late wife. So if there are people you become, there's a group which is going to be very familiar with you. And the things you share there, you know these people cannot go and talk about them. Because sometimes if you're a woman or if you're a man, and you go discussing the challenges you're facing, some people might go and start, talking, and when you hear again, you get even more hurt. And you say, I'm not going to get involved. I'll just stay in my house and just keep to myself. So when you do that, that is not the right way. I want to say that be positive, have a positive mental attitude, know that life has to go on, and the only person who can make that decision, it's you. You are the only one to decide that life has to go on. If you have children and you are widowed, you have to be strong for them. They don't want to come home and find a mother who is crying, or a father who is crying, or the mother who is gloomy all the time, because you discourage them. Just be strong, especially if you have children, so that when they come home, they can find somebody who is strong. You might be feeling down, but remember, they need to be encouraged, because they have also lost a father, they have lost a mother. So loneliness is one of the most tormenting things in widowhood. And I want to say this is real, and there's no medicine for it. There's no painkiller which you can be given. It's only God who is able to come and walk with you and heal you. And I want to say that you need to play a very important part in this issue, so that you don't withdraw from people and then you expect them to be friendly. No, just be positive. If you go to a group of women, like we know we have different group meetings for women, do not focus so much that you're a widow or you're a widow. Be part of the group and just tell God, I want to hear the right thing. If you're a man and you have a group of men, maybe a fellowship, just go. Don't say because these people are going to talk about their spouses. No, go there. Because I want to say that widowhood is not the end of life. The Bible is very clear. If you are widowed, if you are a woman, you are actually allowed to marry. After maybe you have healed, God might give you another husband. If you are a man and you have lost your wife, with time, when you heal, God can give you another wife. And please, I want to say that it's good to let healing take place. So don't go according to your emotions, because then you can also get into the wrong partner. And that one will be actually another death, because you'll be comparing that person to your former wife or your former husband. So take your time, heal, and if it's God's will, He'll give you another partner and you move away from this loneliness. So for you who is listening and is a widow or widower, just have faith in God. For me, I can say, I'm talking to you as somebody who has gone through this status, because I was widowed and my children were very young, And so I'm not talking about a topic which I've downloaded from the internet. No, I'm talking of what I've gone through. And I'm saying loneliness is real. But with time, the Lord has been helping me to move. I got very committed, actually. One of the things I had, my spiritual parents in my church. One thing, actually, my spiritual mother told me, get involved. You know, you need to serve God. And I wondered, how is my spiritual mother telling me I've been serving God? And I got a bit upset. But later, I went home and prayed about it, and I decided to join a ministry of visitation in my church. And I want to tell you as a testimony, through joining that ministry, whereby we would visit different homes, because this was just a new church, we had just started a new church, and we would go to different homes, and I got so much involved in that visitation ministry. So when we went where somebody had lost a husband, the leader would tell you, please give a testimony, and I would give. And with the time, I found I was healing better. And today, I can tell you that getting committed in serving that ministry was one of the best things I have ever done. And so as my spiritual mother told me, you need to serve God, today I just give credit to her that she was able to guide me the right way to serve God. And she did not tell me serve God here. She told me, go ask God which ministry he would like you to serve. And because after I had been bereaved, the visitation ministry in my church came in such a big way. And I felt so comforted. And I told God, honestly, these people, some of them, I didn't even know them personally, but they came and comforted me. I said, God, I want to serve you. As I'm talking to you, you might be wondering, maybe I'm just talking. I want to say, whatever I've talked about, I've put it in a book, because I told God, I would like somebody else, another woman who has been bereaved. I can help her to go through this journey. And you know, the time I was bereaved, we didn't have many resources like the way we have a lot of resources in internet. Internet was not that, it was actually just coming in. So right now there are a lot of resources. You can go to the internet and Google. But during a time we didn't have much. So in my own way I said, I'm going to write a book and talk about some of these issues. And one of them is loneliness. So when I'm talking to you, just know I'm talking from experience. I've gone through it. It's a tough situation, but God is able. God is able, because I try to keep myself very busy, and I try not to be critical, you know, to have a positive mental attitude. So if you invite me, let's say, to a wedding, I try my best to go there. I will not say that I will not go because, my husband died. So I try to be busy. I'm very busy in my church. And even in the social circles, I try to be very busy, but I choose where to go, and especially where there's godliness. I have written a book, and you can read that book. And this book is called Overcoming Life's Challenges, and it's my own testimony as a widow. So this book has different topics covering widowhood. If you read this book, maybe you have been widowed, you might be feeling some feelings, and you don't understand. And this book is my own testimony of how I've gone. It might not be the way you have gone through it, but this is how I went through it. And I'm saying I've done it, I'm written it based on godly principles. Because it's God, for me it is God. Without God, I would not have made it. Even today, I know it's God who has helped me to bring up my children, to educate them, and to be where they are now. And I want to say, even I'm now a grandmother of 3. That's a miracle, because my last born was 4 years when my husband died. So this book, you can get a copy of this book, and you can call us on 0721 738700. This book is also available on Amazon, so you can also buy it there. So if you are interested, and whatever I've talked about, as I said, we have group discussions addressing these issues of widowhood. We have got seminars, conferences. You can get in touch with us. Even counseling. You might be feeling very down and you need counseling, because you cannot make it sometimes on your own and you don't know whom to talk to. Sometimes, you feel you're just alone and people don't understand. No, there are many people who have gone through what you have gone through, and they can help you to overcome this challenge. So this is the book, and I've given you the contact, and it will be there, or you can see it on the screen, and you can get a copy and encourage yourself. And maybe even after reading it, you might want to give it as a gift to another person who you know is facing this challenge of widowhood and has not been able to cope. Maybe you have been able to cope with it, but you have a friend or a family member who has not been able to cope with it. So you can actually buy for them and give them as a gift. May God bless you. And we are going to be talking about many other things, especially dealing with widowhood. And we'll be very, very much willing to hear from you so that you become part of this great ministry called Overcomers Generation Ministry. Thank you very much, and God bless you.